Thank you for your patience and cooperation. Boarding will begin in a few moments.
Why are we contacting departure?
Going to 124.5 Papa Hotel, Quebec, Port 7. World Travel 3757. Contact Minneapolis Center on 128.75. 128.75. World
I have absolutely no idea what they're having me do right now with this whole... Whatever. So you can tell, I'm sure if you've flown this enough, you just know that ATC in Flight Simulator X is not the greatest. It's just one of those facts of life. I wish it was better, but it is a 10-year-old game. I've heard that something like X-Plane 11 does have better ATC. Otherwise, you could use, I can't even remember the name of the program, but it's VATSIM, where you can have human ATC controllers as well. So there are some options if you are wanting a more realistic ATC scenario. I wasn't going to switch over to X-Plane 11. I do have X-Plane 10. I kind of want to get X-Plane 11, but right now I'm very comfortable using FSPassengers and flying Flight Simulator X, and I have a feeling that if I were to switch to X-Plane, that it's going to be a new learning curve. A lot of the controls are going to be the same, and obviously with my yoke and rudder pedals and everything, a lot of that will be the same, and how you interact with the graphical virtual cockpit and whatnot. But learning some of the things as far as ATC and routing and things like that, I'm used to Flight Simulator X right now, so I'm going to stick with it for at least a little bit longer. You can see that we're maintaining, we're turning basically to intercept this leg of our flight. We're passing 13,900 for flight level 190. It would be a flight level because it is above our transition altitude, which is 18,000 feet. Also looking to my right, which you guys can't see, in my setup, what I was going to say is that I should record a video showing you my Flight Simulator setup, so I might have to do that sometime. But I do have a TV off to my right. I have it muted, so obviously you cannot hear anything. But being the big hockey fan I am, Minnesota Wild right now are playing the Arizona Coyotes, so I'm watching that. Just ended the first period, though, and the Minnesota Wild are up 1-0, which is, something that makes me pretty happy. Looking all around us, you can see that it is a pretty overcast day here, but it's nice clear air as we're getting above. Well, it's still a little bit of adrenaline from the turbulence and stuff, but the higher we get, I assume, the better it is going to get. Also, you can see how the winds almost jumped up about 30 knots when we went, basically from below the clouds to above them. So we now do have a little bit of a headwind, which is unfortunate, but it is one of those facts of flying. It is one of those things that happens. Another thing I am going to do, we've gone through our takeoff checklist, climb checklist, power level is adjusted, climb speed as required, ECS panel. We're going to make sure our cabin pressurization is working, so we can come down here, and it'll show that right now is showing that we're at 6,200 feet. For our cabin pressure, everything is working there. Fuel tank gauges, we'll check those, so we're showing 117 and 109. 117, 109, and we can check down here. We are on the left tank, so it auto switched to the left tank, so we're gonna try to maintain a good fuel balance. De-ice system as required. Now that we're out of the clouds, we can go ahead and turn some of these other icing systems off. So we're gonna maintain the main airframe de-ice and also our pitot heat. Next checklist would be our cruise checklist. We're not going to turn that on. However, I'm going to go to our flap control transition from up to 850. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So this, wrong way, like that. And I might have just oversped the flaps. That's not good. This is the downside to having a video game where I don't have switches that I can necessarily use. So I have a flap switch set on my yoke, but it does not allow it to go into that 850 mode, so I have to try to do it with my middle mouse button, and if we oversped our flaps, you guys, I am sorry, I did not mean to do that. In real life, obviously, I would have just pushed it up, but having to use my middle mouse button, it is one of those facts of life. Also, we passed transition altitude, so I went ahead and switched to 2.9 or 9.2. Also, you saw when I did do that our torque started to go way high, and we didn't want it to go beyond 121.4, so I pulled back our power lever a little bit, but I pulled it back way too much, and we were at 100 in our torque. So I'm going to try to get that up to about 115. I think what I might have to do is write something down on my mouse or something like that. If I scroll this way, it means go up, or if you do this, it means go down. We'll acknowledge that instruction. I did it right this time. 250. And we'll start going with that VVI and getting it up. Set to 1400. That is good enough for me. You can see our airspeed is increasing a little bit as well, and we are well above the clouds now. So it is a pretty cloudy day out. The weather in Milwaukee is supposed to be fairly clear, so hopefully it stays that way. I'm going to keep you guys with me at least until we reach cruise altitude. Then we'll quick go through our cruise checklist and then probably pause the video at that point. Not sure yet if I am going to break this video up into 3 parts like I did with my last video. Waiting to see if I get any feedback from you guys from that one that I have recorded, since I have just started to post that. But I think I am gonna probably break this up into 3 parts again. So if you're watching right now, you're probably getting to the end of part 1. Once we get to cruise, we'll probably make that part 2, unless this might be going a little quicker. So who knows? Maybe this will be only a 2-part flight. I have no idea. Probably still be 3 parts. I feel like I'm just rambling on. A lot of times when I do this, I wish I had someone to talk to, because I just feel like I'm just kind of talking to myself. I love that, you know, I'm able to talk to you guys, communicate with you guys, but I wish, you know, it would be really nice if I had a co-pilot here that I could talk to while doing these YouTube videos. So if I sound like I am rambling, put it in the comment section below, or send me a message, send me hate mail, whatever you want to do to let me know that, hey, just shut up, man, and fly, you're rambling. With that, we are now passing 21,500 feet for flight level 250. Speed is looking good. All our engine instruments are looking good. I'm going to bump up the power lever a little more, try to get us to about 119, maybe 120 on our torque. Maximize all the power that we can get. However, that is going to affect our burn rate, which I know I did talk about last time, which is going to be down here. So gallons per hour, we're looking at 65 for gallons per hour. But as you can see, we have a decent amount of gallons, so 4 hours worth of flying. We're not going to be flying for that long at all. So we have plenty of gas. You can see Pumpkin is up here, which is the first point that we are going to. Now, on our flight path by SkyVector, remember that is not called Pumpkin, but it is called Toto, so that is where we are heading. You can see how long it looks like on the GPS, and if that's only this, and then we got to go all the way over there, we still got a lot of flying to do. So maybe this will be a 3-part video after all. 2,000 more feet in our climb, and then we'll start to level off, and then we can run our cruise checklist, and at which point I am going to pause the video. I do have some chicken in the oven that I want to get out before it burns, because I have not had supper yet, and I made a chicken quarter with the leg and the breast and everything. It's going to be delightful, hopefully, unless it burned, because I was making this here YouTube video and not focusing on cooking, which is definitely a possibility. 1,000 feet in our climb. Turn those lights off. I just wanted to confirm that. like just looking over everything, making sure that we have everything as necessary. Want that to be on auto, which is the air conditioner switch. Bleed air is on. Our pressurization is good, and it looks like we're at 7,000 feet, which is what we were targeting. Everything else down here looks good. Our icing is good. Our inertial separator is off. Our trim is auto trimming because of our autopilot, and we're starting to level off at flight level 250, and you can see my engine controls right there. Still on that left tank, however. So I'll maintain eyes on that, just make sure that it continues to manually switch over back and forth. So we're leveling off at flight level 250. Power level is adjusted. We're just going to continue to accelerate for a while. Pressurization checked, which we just did a little while ago. We're at 7,000 feet. Fuel and gauges are checked. We also did that. And then we're going to do regular checks of consumption, expected fuel at destination, tank, automatic change every 10 minutes, and symmetry, making sure that we don't go beyond 15 US gallons in desymmetry. DI system also is as required. So we have gone through our checklists. We are good for our cruise. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the seatbelt sign. Let our passengers not really walk along or walk around. There's really not a whole lot of room for you guys to wiggle around. But if you want to take off your seatbelt, be a little more comfortable, definitely go ahead and do that. And I will pause the video here and bring you back maybe in... You know what? I'm just going to keep this video going for a couple more minutes because we're going to be at Pumpkin, and once we get to Pumpkin, we're going to turn, and I'm sure you guys probably want to see that. I don't know, hopefully. After all, if you're watching this video, you want to see flying is my assumption. You don't want to just see a whole bunch of ground checklists. So we'll keep this part going just a little bit longer.
Minneapolis Center, Mooney, November 6672 Delta, with you.
You can see that the clouds behind us are still pretty almost overcast. I think it was listed as broken, but that was a pretty overcast layer, but it looks like it's clearing up nicely the more we head north and east. So hopefully that trend maintains itself because I really don't want to have to fly through a ton of clouds. I like to keep it, you know, in the smooth air as best as we can. So you can see that also that our estimated time en route, we look like we got about another 48 seconds before we're going to hit Pumpkin. That's when it's going to change. Kind of nice that it tells that for us. You can look down here as well, and you can see that distance to Pumpkin is 2.9 nautical miles, and it's bearing 016. And it also shows right here what leg you're on. So we're, well, now it's switching for us. So we just hit Pumpkin, and we're going to head over to Geordie. So did it a little ahead of schedule, which is kind of nice. But, yeah, so if you want to kind of look at your flight plan that you have input into your multifunctional display and make sure you know what the aircraft is doing. You can see what leg it is, your distance that you have to go, and also your bearing, your estimated time en route. There's a lot of good information. Got a lot of good information there. So we'll start leveling out here in any second now that we're starting to intercept our course right here. Also, look at these winds that we're going to have. Holy cow. 90 knots. Going to be a pretty strong crosswind, but you can see it's a little bit of a tailwind as well, which will do nothing but help us out. Look at that ground speed. 369 knots. 370 knots. I like it. We're going to have a good ground speed and get, hopefully, to Milwaukee at a nice pace if we are able to maintain, you know, a relatively strong tailwind like we're doing right now. Also, we started to level out, and we're on our next leg of flight. So what I am finally going to do is pause the video. I will take some nice little shots of the scenery from outside of the aircraft like I normally do with some sweet jazz music. And I'm going to go get myself some chicken. So sit back, enjoy the flight, and I will talk to you in just a little bit. right, everybody, I am back. As you can see, we have about a minute to go before we hit Geordie, which is our next point on our flight. We are making some great time right now. Winds have actually increased. They were at 101, now they're at 100. It's mostly a crosswind, but it still helps us out in a tailwind as well, and you can see that we're getting a great ground speed of 375 knots. We're flying an indicated of 215 knots, but if I come down here and look, you can see that our true airspeed, it's 309 knots. So we're still being able to make up some good time at this altitude, and we're turning slightly here. We're hitting our next point, and so that's why it's causing us to turn, just to get us a little back on course. You can see that it selected our new leg on our GPS flight plan, so not much of a turn, just turning it a little bit to maintain the proper course for that. Our next reporting point is going to be Caper, so if I pull over our IFR Hi chart, we are just crossing over Geordie right here, and then we got 50 nautical miles to get to Caper. That should show up right down here, distance 48.2, so you can see that it is pretty accurate to what the actual IFR Hi chart is showing as well. We're still just flying at flight level 250. We haven't really done any changes. I haven't really done anything. My chicken wasn't quite done even, so I'm still not eating that. But very, very shortly it will be done. So I'm sure when I pause this time, I am going to go get my chicken. That's one nice thing about flying a flight simulator, is I can cook and eat while I fly. So I'm pretty excited about that. Maybe you guys think it deters it a little from the realism, but you know what? I gotta eat. I haven't eaten pretty much at all today. It is 8:13 p.m. and all I have had is 2 hard-boiled eggs. We're gonna contact Chicago Center right now, finally going off Minneapolis Center, and we're gonna go to Chicago Center. 127.5. So we'll tune to Chicago Center and contact them.
Hotel Quebec Fort 7 with you. Hotel Quebec Fort 7, Chicago Center, roger.
After Caper, we still are going to basically be flying the exact same heading to that Dubuque or DBQ VOR, which is where we're going to actually start to turn then. And actually, I believe when we turn, we will get even more of a tailwind, which will just be fantastic. Just going to make up a lot of speed. Look at this right now. We're at 382 knots ground speed, which is just, I'm excited about it. We're just cruising nice and fast. I like it. I'm enjoying it. Gonna get to our destination nice and quick for these fine passengers with our 180 pounds or whatever it is of Nintendo Switches, and the Minnesota Wild just scored. Yes! 2-0 over the Coyotes with 14:06 left in the second period. Sorry, I got a little excited about that. They're not the team that I was expecting them to be this year. I think everybody was expecting them to be top competitors in the Central Division, and they're definitely not right now. But we're in the wild card slot, so at least we have playoff eligibility if it were to start right now. Anyway, enough about hockey. I'll try not to bore you with all of that stuff. And what I think I'm going to do is probably just pause the video actually again right now. Nothing has really changed, like I said, and I will just try to show you some more nice views outside, and I will bring you back when we get a little closer to Caper. Alright everybody, I am back. As you can see, we are in a little bit of a turn right here. You can tell that we're not quite straight and level, but that is because we have now crossed over Caper and we're on our next leg of flight. So again, I'm going to bring over our World Hi IFR chart, and you can see that Caper is right here. So now we got 77 nautical miles until we get to Dubuque, which is located right here, which is pretty much on the exact same heading from an 80 to 81 is what it is. And then from there, we're going to take a nice 090 heading to Cotton, and that's when we'll head up to Milwaukee. So we're probably about halfway done with our flight. I would say pretty darn close to about halfway done with our flight, especially with the tailwind that we have right now. We should be at least at our halfway point, I would say. So we're going to continue to fly. We can see that we're at 71.3 nautical miles away from Dubuque. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, guys. I've never been there before. I've never contacted it before or anything like that. So I'm trying here. I'm trying my best. But outside of that, again, still nothing has really changed. This is such an easy aircraft to fly. Like I said in my last video, if you guys want a easy aircraft to fly, IFR, at fun higher altitudes, this is definitely a great aircraft to choose, because it is so simple to fly. But I've continued to monitor everything just because I do have failures on, and I'm making sure, you know, that we don't get into a situation where we would have to divert. I have been looking at places where we can divert as we are flying as well, in case something were to happen. I believe down here is Cedar Rapids, that we could fly to, KSID, or CID, which is Cedar Rapids. I'm looking on that IFR world chart again. Right here. And if I were to go over to World VFR, you would see that that is a Class Charlie airspace as well. So it is a larger airport. Definitely a good option if we were to start to have some engine trouble or something like that. Good place that we could go. With all of that being said, none of our, all four of our passengers are wearing seatbelts because really there's nowhere to go in this plane. So, we're just going to continue to fly nicely. I do have my chicken now. It looks fantastic. I haven't taken a bite yet because I was trying to get some out of the plane shots, and then I noticed as I was taking one of them that we were starting to turn, which meant that we were on our next leg of our GPS nav route. So, it is what it is. You know, back into the cockpit I am. But I think I'm going to go ahead and pause the video again. I will bring you back when we're approaching that Dubuque VOR, and then beyond that, we only have 2 more legs of our flight, so pretty soon we'll be descending and already on our approach. This flight has gone really fast. I'm pretty happy about that. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I'm trying to get some cool scenes, you know, of the scenery and things like that, but unfortunately, like today, for the most part, there's a lot of overcast weather. Trying to get some good revers and things like that, features like that, but outside of that, it just looks like farmland for the most part. Might fly after this, try to head a little more south, and the Wild just scored again, 3-0, woohoo! Anyway, I might try to fly a little further south because it's just kind of depressing looking at nothing but white land. There's so much snow in this game. So maybe I'll head down to Florida or something like that where we can see some good green terrain, lots of trees and things like that. So maybe something to look forward to in the future. Also, if you guys have suggestions on where you want me to flight, I don't always fly to them because I might be on the opposite side of the United States or something like that. But it is a lot easier now with a bigger aircraft like this to go to those places that you guys want me to fly. So if you have suggestions or anything like that, recommendations, please send me a message or a comment, and make sure you're liking and subscribing to the page and all that. I'll stop repping that though. And, you know, that was a good conversation, so I think we're going to go on and pause the video again, continue flying straight, but I'll show you a little more scenery. If it's not too overcast, it's looking like it might be getting into a pretty overcast situation here, so hopefully there's something on the ground to look at, otherwise it's going to turn into a pretty boring flight. Also, see down here, if I move that, we have a few airliners up there. Looks like they had to avoid each other or something almost. I did once, when I was trying to get some of those scenery shots for you, have to report traffic in sight, but I didn't think that was anything too exciting to bring you guys back. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys want to just see the entire flight. I don't know. I think that would be really long. I don't know what I could talk about that long. So if you don't want me to just record a flight where I don't say anything and it's just nice soothing flight in the background, I can definitely do that for you guys though. Anyway, let's go ahead and pause the video, look at some scenery, and I'll bring you back at Dubuque in 42.3 nautical miles.
Orbit 15 Niner 6.
Look at the mustache on this fella right here. Let's just zoom in on him. My co-pilot just has a sweet old mustache right there. I love it. Love it. He's my favorite co-pilot in the world. Alright everybody, I am back. As you can see, we are again in a turn. I was outside of the aircraft trying to get some more scenery pictures, and then I noticed we were turning, so sorry I didn't get it right before we started turning or anything like that, but you know, it is what it is. Look at this ground speed. We have broken the 405 knot ground speed because our tailwind, as we have started to turn to a more true easterly direction, is now 104 knots in the butt, and we are just cruising at 406 knots ground speed. If you notice though, it's still 215.16 indicated, which is, well, what happens. True airspeed also has not changed because it is not affected by the wind like your ground speed is, because that is relative to the ground. So we are just clipping along here. It's going pretty swimmingly, if you will, swimmingly. Outside of that, again, still nothing has changed. The Wild, unfortunately, that has changed. Arizona scored, so they're only up 3-1 in the second period right now. I've been eating some of my chicken that I made. This chicken is, I would say it's mediocre chicken, but let me tell you about this deal I found. It was a bag that was 10 pounds of chicken quarters. I don't know how many chicken quarters that is. I think it's like 6 or 7 of them inside this bag, and it was only $3.50, which is absolutely fantastic. That's what I should have been carrying to Milwaukee, is 180 pounds of 10-pound chicken quarter bags, which would have been kind of cool, but, you know, Nintendo Switches are good. My kid loves to play on my Nintendo Switch that I got when I was gone, but, you know, whatever. What's mine is his, what's his is, well, mine, because I probably bought it, but you know how that goes if you are a parent. We're going to contact Chicago Center on 118.75. Fiddle in with this, 4 per 10 to contact them, and contact Chicago Center. If you heard that ice jingling in there, that is because I have poured myself a lovely drink of ginger ale. Why ginger ale? Well, it's because it's what I had in my house, and also it helps with nausea if you are, flying. But I don't think I'm going to get, motion sickness from a simulator, but who knows? I've never had motion sickness in real life. All of my pilot training, I personally took in real-world pilot training, never had any issues with being nauseated or anything like that from motion sickness, but ginger ale just tastes delightful, I guess, so we're going to go with it. I think what I'm going to do now is pause the video one more time. This pause probably won't be very long because we are going at such a fast ground speed. We've only got 40 miles until our next point, and I'm assuming we're going to start descending at that point. So I'm going to get a few more scenery shots for you guys, and then we will probably get ready to start running our descent checklist and heading in to Milwaukee at General, I forgot the name of the airfield. It's General Mitchell International Airfield. Oh man, sorry about that ginger ale burps. General Mitchell International Airport. So anyway, I'll get a couple more of those shots for you. Hopefully you enjoy them. If you don't, just let me know. You know, like everything I'm always saying, just let me know. I want to make these videos so you guys enjoy them. So Sit back, relax, enjoy the scenery, and then when I talk to you again, we'll be getting ready for our descent into Milwaukee.